Hello, everybody. Welcome to your program BAC Anglais, and today's video is lesson number 5. If it is the first time you have logged into this channel, please subscribe for more videos. In today's video, we are going to talk about notions and functions, and here, especially giving advice in English, how to give advice in English, and at the end of the lesson, the video, you will have some exercise. Giving advice is a very important, function of English language because we give advice and we receive advice on a daily basis. So it is good to know. Verb to advise with S and noun advice with C. So the verb is S, the noun is C. And the pronunciation here, it is Z, advise. To advise, here it is a piece of advice. The sound is S, advise, advice. It is good to know. Example, I advise you to work hard. Advise you to work hard. He gave me a piece of advice. As you can see here, a piece of advice. Why? Because the word advice is an uncountable noun. You cannot say advice with S because advice is already in the plural. Now, if you want to talk about one piece of advice, like piece of information, piece of luggage, piece of chalk, etc. So, a piece of advice. Common expressions. Excuse me, if in Wolof, when you want to give someone advice, quand vous voulez donner un conseil à quelqu'un en Wolof, il y a plusieurs expressions. Maa ngi lay digal nga bàyyi tux, war nga bàyyi tux, jot na nga bàyyi tux, tee nga bàyyi tux, loo mënti def bàyyil tux, su ma doon yow dinaa bàyyi tux, su ma nekkoon fi nga nekk dinaa bàyyi tux. So all these sentences have the same meaning, giving advice to a smoker. En français, on a quoi? Je te conseille d'arrêter de fumer. Tu devrais arrêter de fumer. Tu ferais mieux d'arrêter de fumer. À ta place, j'arrêterai de fumer. Si j'étais toi, j'arrêterais de fumer. Il est temps que tu arrêtes de fumer. Quoi que tu fasses, arrête de fumer. And here you have something like 5 or 7 sentences to give the same advice. In English also, we have expressions to advise: should, ought to, had better, if I were you, if I were in your position, if I were in your shoes, it's high time. Okay? But here it's high time. We are going to deal with it in a special video. It's high time. I promise, maybe the next video, we are going to talk about it's high time, it's about time, it's the first time, etc. Clear? The first one is to advise. To advise, example, I advise my students to work hard. I advise my students to work hard. To work hard. My father advises me to drive carefully. And here you have the full infinitive of the verb coming after. My teacher is advising me to read more. I advise you to learn the irregular verbs. I advised her to go home and have a rest. Should or ought to, they are interchangeable. You can choose should or ought to give advice. You should work in groups. You ought to walk in groups. You should drink those pills. You ought to drink those pills. You should read more books. You ought to read more books. Should, ought to give advice. Had better. In French, tu ferais mieux de. Had better is strong advice. Come on. You had better walk in group. Group walk is very important to go in group. You had better drive carefully. Guys, it's high time you drove carefully to avoid accidents. You had better read more books. Reading also is very important. Next time, you had better not come late. Next time, you had better not come. The next expression is, if I were you, or if I were in your position, or if I were in your shoes. Si j'étais toi, si j'étais à ta place. Example, to avoid accidents, car crash. If I were you, I would drive carefully. As you can see here, it is a second conditional, if plus preterite and simple conditional. If I were you, I would drive carefully. If I were in your position, I would drive carefully. If I were in your shoes, I would drive carefully. Whatever you do plus imperative. Whatever you do, drive carefully. Whatever you do, read more books. Whatever you do, don't come late. Here are examples with whatever you do. Quoi que tu fasses, ne viens pas en retard. Recap. We are going to rewind and see what we have already dealt with so far. Advice. I advise you to come on time. Don't be late. Should. You should come on time. You should not come late. Ought to. You ought to come on time. You had better come on time. If I were you, I would come on time. If I were in your position, I would come on time. If I were in your shoes, I would come on time. Whatever you do, come on time. And I told you that next time we will deal with it's high time, it's about time, it's time, and its uses. Let's practice exercise. Situation. Your friend is a heavy smoker. Your friend smokes a lot. Now, give him advice by using I advise you. You can say I advise you to stop smoking, or I advise you, okay, at your convenience. Number 2, you should. Number 3, you ought to. Number 4, you had better. Number 5, if I were you. Number 6, if I were in your position. And number 7, whatever you do. So this is your exercise today. Do it and have a screenshot. Send it to me on WhatsApp or write directly in the comments. I will see and answer, inshallah. Thank you very much for watching, and see you very, very soon for a new video, BAC Anglais and BFM Anglais. Goodbye.